Hey guys, my name's Chad Althizer. I'm a retired Major, U.S. Marine, retired in 2015. And the year and a half or so leading up to my retirement and the almost 5 years after, I've had a really difficult time navigating all kinds of things in my day-to-day life. And some of those things have been big things, big life events like retirement, like going through a med board process, going through a divorce, going through periods of unemployment or marginal employment. So some of those things are very big and obvious triggers. Other things aren't, and they're day-to-day things. They're what Lara, my friend Lara Riggio, who is my energy therapist, and she's here with me today on this video. It's what her and I call unremarkable triggers. And I think, quite honestly, in a lot of cases, they're the things that can be most disruptive for us. Because when we have the big triggers, if, let's say a loud, unexpected boom or car backfiring or a very high pitched scream or screech or laugh from a child or, a number of different noises at varying volumes coming in all at the same time, like those things are pretty obvious triggers for somebody who has PTSD, anxiety, depression, a component of TBI, which most of us do. And but the everyday triggers, the small things, when our phones ring, when we hear a text message come in because our notifications are on and our phone dings, and immediately, without really being aware, our heart rates increase, our anxiety increases. And I know for me, I wonder, what is this text? Is it bad news? Is it a request that I'm not going to be able to fulfill? Is it a question that I won't have the answer to? So our phones ring, our text message alerts go off. We have a day-to-day thing to navigate. And now during this pandemic, it could be all kinds of things, like trying to reschedule actual appointments to virtual appointments, trying to be productive and meaningful in our day. So little things that are triggers that alarm us, that cause a physiological response that we may or may not be aware of in that moment, can have massive disruptions on not only that moment, but cascading effects later on in the day, and especially into the night when we have difficulty sleeping. So Lara and I today want to give you some tools to deal with, first of all, to identify, and second, to deal with and move the negative energy that may be associated with some of these triggers. So I'm glad you're here. And without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to my good friend, Lara.
So great to be with you guys. And so the question I want to ask you, Chad, because I want to get right into it, is because you touched on it a little bit. And I think when we talk about triggers, what a trigger really is it's something that occurs that actually brings up other feelings or other reactions from the past. So
Right.
just a phone dinging off isn't necessarily going to be a trigger for everyone. But what you're saying is when a phone will ding, you're wondering, oh my goodness, did I forget to do something? Or is there something that I'm going to be required to do that I may not feel comfortable doing?
Yeah.
So let's deal with that one first, and let's see if we can get to really what the underlying fear is, anxiety is around that, and see if we can't release it, because all feelings, from fear to anxiety to worry, any stress we're physically feeling, we can, with the exercises I'm about to teach you, release those feelings so that then we can feel more empowered to, number one, think about what we want to do and then take action to do it. So fear is just a way that our body stops us from taking any kind of action. And it's just a sign that what is happening right now and the way you're reacting to it is not really aligned with ultimately what you want. Okay. So, and in this case, it's bringing up some old fears that I think at this point, you're probably ready to release and let go of, because they're hindering what you want in your everyday existence. They're making life harder than it needs to be right now. So
Absolutely.
the first thing I want to ask you is, like, how does this, do you know what this could relate to? So when you hear a ding on your phone, what does go through your mind? I want to get you into that feeling state. So what does go through your mind? Or
One
do
of the
you feel
first
stress first?
one of the first things that goes through my mind, and even though combat operations in both Iraq and Afghanistan have slowed down, and quite honestly, I don't know if I have someone close to me that's deployed right now, but it reminds me of the time period.
Oh, I just lost you for a second. Go ahead. It reminds you of the time period.
Yeah, so when my phone dings or my phone rings, um, it reminds me of the time period when it seemed like very regularly I was getting calls from friends of mine that would say, "Hey, sir, it's Sergeant so and so. I don't know if you heard yet, but you know, Corporal Allen was killed," for instance. And I remember exactly where I was standing in my driveway on base in 29 Palms in the base housing area. Getting calls about close friends being wounded or killed, and also, I mean, I guess that's the first thing. The first thing is the fear that there is bad news. There's a bad news that's going to be delivered.
That's significant.
Yeah.
That's really significant. And with some of the other veterans I've worked with as well, it could be these days, now that there's more space between, the time that you were actually deployed and that you knew people that were, but also now these days it even can be, oh no, is it going to be bad news that, one of my buddies committed suicide even,
Yeah,
or,
absolutely.
or,
I have recently got
yeah.
received one of those calls as well.
So I think this is something that a lot of veterans may be facing right now. So let's just look at your body's reaction to this. Where do you feel this stress in your body when you think about it?
My chest,
Yeah.
my shoulders.
In your shoulders. Okay. So if you were to rate the stress on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being lower, 10 being more intense, where does it fall along that intensity spectrum?
It's a 9.
It's a 9. Okay. No wonder when you're hearing a ding on your phone that it can really pull you into this state. And we're not necessarily associating that ding with this, but yet you're still having the reaction to it. So we want to
Yeah.
work with the reaction to this so that when you hear these dings on the phone, you're not going to a 9 every time. So
And
go
I
ahead.
mean, in addition to that, it's oftentimes takes me to a 9 in terms of stress level, and then my physical reaction or my behavioral reaction is don't look at my phone. So there are lots of times that I'm not responding to emails, I'm not responding to voicemails, I'm not responding to text messages because it caught me at a moment when I wasn't expecting it. It created a fear response. And then my way of dealing with that is like, I'll just avoid it. So it's twofold. It's the very high intensity fear response, and then it's the behavioral component. But then it's how that behavioral component plays into failing to follow through on simple tasks, on scheduling an appointment or acknowledging results from some routine recent lab work, or
Mhm.
paying a traffic ticket or paying a bill online when you get a notification that it's due. All of these things are higher order effects that result from, oh shit, why is my phone going off? This is bad news.
Right. And then do you, because this could be something that happens as a result, but then do you also beat yourself up for not being able to do those things? So
Oh, of
then that's
course.
another separate issue, which we're going to deal with after we deal
Yeah.
with this first one. So
Yeah.
let's get you back into, feel that feeling again in your chest. It's your phone is just dinged. It brings you back to you being in your driveway. Oh my God. Like I remember when this happened before. And I
Yeah.
got that news. And for anybody else out there that has experienced this, do this with us, okay? Find where you feel the stress in your body, and let's actually go through, and you're going to tap all these points with us. As we tap these points and you listen to the words that I'm saying and Chad is saying, what we're doing is we're using the Chinese meridian system that acupuncturists use, and that has been a viable form of medicine for ages in the Asian world. We're tapping those specific points that a lot of acupuncturists needle to help you calm this stress response. Okay, we're helping your body digest these stressors so that when you potentially think about this again, your reaction could be different. So we're retraining your body on how to actually respond to the same trigger, okay, by calming it down as you're thinking about it. So let's get back to that state. Think about the ding. Think about standing in your driveway in that moment before. Bring up the feeling here in your chest, and let's actually start. We're going to start with a temple rub. So take your hands on your temples like this. Great. And you're just going to massage your temples, okay? And as you're massaging your temples, what you're actually doing is we're working with a meridian in the Chinese acupuncture system that is called your triple warmer meridian. This meridian elicits a fight, flight, or freeze sympathetic nervous system response. So as you rub this, and I want you to breathe deeply into wherever you feel your stress. So take a deep breath into where you feel the stress or tension in your body. And exhale. And one more breath into that tense spot. Breathe in. And exhale. Now you're going to start to move with me. Start to rub in a circular fashion over your ear. Okay. And what we're doing is we're calming this meridian, and we're basically telling your body, hey, like, even though this is stressful, there's actually, you're not in physical danger right now. Okay. There's no lions, tigers, or bears near you. There's no gun to your head right now. You're not worried about, stepping on what is it called? An AID?
IED.
IED. I always get the letters wrong. You're not worried about that right now because you're here. You're watching this video. You're safe in your house. And so we just want to remind your body of that. So go to the back of your ear, rub that bone, and then you're going to go down the back of your neck, and then off your shoulders, okay? Then I want you to just go right on your temples, go over your ears, and off your shoulders. Good. Again, over your ears and off your shoulders. Good. One more time, over your ears and off your shoulders. Okay, so just after that exercise, can you tap back into that feeling that you just had? So think
Yeah.
about your phone ding, and now I want you to just re-rate that number. You were at like a 9 before. Where are you right now?
6 or 7.
6 or 7. So we've brought it down
Yeah.
just a little bit, okay?
Absolutely.
Now let's actually
Yeah.
start moving into tapping. So you're
Okay.
going to tap the side of your hand like this, and I just want you to think to yourself, actually repeat after me for everybody out there too. Even though I'm feeling this fear response,
I'm feeling this fear response,
I can accept it
I can accept it
and work with it
and work with it
and help my body digest it
and help my body digest it
right now.
right now.
Switch hands. Even though
Even though
I'm feeling this fear response,
I'm feeling this fear response,
I can accept it
I can accept it
by noticing it
by noticing it
and feeling it
and feeling it
and help my body digest it
and help my body digest it
so I can release it right now.
so I can release it right now.
Good. Now you're going to move with me, tap in between your eyebrows, okay? And if any of these points are tender, it's okay. It just means there's a little blocked energy there. So from your tapping in between your eyebrows, you're going to move to the outside of your eyebrows. And you're just going to follow me and continue as we go through this and talk some more. So I can feel these feelings
I can feel these feelings
in my body
in my body
and work with them
and work with them
because they are just a sign
because they are just a sign
that something is not right.
that something is not right.
And as I tap
And as I tap
and release them,
and release them,
I can begin to figure out
I can begin to figure out
what they mean.
what they mean.
So as I tap,
So as I tap
now you're in your rib cage, and release the initial fear,
and release the initial fear,
I can calm myself down
I can calm myself down
and begin to understand
and begin to understand
why I'm having this fear,
why I'm having this fear,
what it means,
what it means,
and then what I want to do instead.
and what I want to do instead.
As I tap
As I tap
and release this triggered feeling,
and release this triggered feeling,
I can start to think
I can start to think
about how I'd like to respond
about how I'd like to respond
instead of just reacting
instead of just reacting
and allowing my emotions
and allowing my emotions
to control me.
to control me.
I can tap,
I can tap,
release these feelings,
release these feelings,
figure out what they mean,
figure out what they mean,
and then make a decision
and then make a decision
of how I want to respond
of how I want to respond
versus just reacting.
versus just reacting.
And when I figure out how I want to respond,
And when I figure out how I want to respond,
I'll be able to take action
I'll be able to take action
that feels good
that feels good
and empowered
and empowered
versus reactive and um, doing something that is just not choice based.
versus reactive and doing something that is not choice based.
Because I can make choices
Because I can make choices
that keep me safe now
that keep me safe now
and free.
and free.
Okay, good. Just take a breath and see how that feels.
Yeah, it feels better.
So let's just tap it. So tap into that feeling. You've heard the ding. And before you were to 9, then you went to like a 6 or 7. Now where are you if you bring up that feeling?
2.
2. Okay. And you still feel it here?
Yeah, I feel it, my chest, my shoulders, and a little bit in my stomach.
Okay. Okay. So let's dig into it a little bit more. There's another layer here. And so what we just did is we work with the meridian system. There's also another system that we've worked with. It's the Ayurvedic chakra system. And so meridians have a tendency to hold muscular tension and muscular memory in them. So we just helped you and Chad release the muscle memory that's held in the meridian system. But then in the chakra system, you actually have thematic responses and perspectives that are held in those energy centers. So now we're going to work with releasing that. So I want to just see what the perspective is. What's interesting is you're feeling it right here between your heart, which has to do with your ability to feel like you have enough to give to others, and then also your throat, which really embodies your ability to speak your truth and express yourself freely. So I'm just going to see what you need to do with these chakras for a second. Okay, so I got a specific page. I'm testing to see what exactly you need. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so what I got was just the feeling of feeling agitated. Okay, so agitated by the whole situation. So, and I think what's happening is that agitation about it all and that stress could be potentially because this where your feeling is right between heart and throat. It could be, and you can tell me if this resonates, it could be making you question on some level, like, can I handle this? Okay. And then how am I actually going to react and express myself in this whole situation? And it's complicated because it's not just a communication, it's something that brought up all these other feelings. So I just want to help you get centered in yourself and in this present moment. So place your left hand on your forehead. And what we're doing when we're holding points up here, these are our main neurovascular points here. When you hold them, you're bringing blood back up from your limbs. And because when you're in a stress state, blood rushes from your forebrain to your limbs to help power fight, flight, and freeze. When we hold these points, you're signaling the body to bring it back to the forebrain and to override that stress response. We're going to hold that as we tap the heart chakra. So go ahead and tap your heart chakra. And I just want you to think as you actually say it out loud. I can center myself.
I can center myself
In my power.
in my power
To make choices.
to make choices
Which keep me safe and free.
which keep me safe and free.
I can center myself.
I can center myself
In my power.
in my power
To make choices.
to make choices
Which keep me safe and free.
which keep me safe and free.
I can center myself.
I can center myself
In my power.
in my power
Make choices.
to make choices
Which keep me feeling safe and free.
that keep me feeling safe and free.
Now, pause here, take a deep breath right into your chest. So breathe into your chest and exhale the air out. Good. Now shake those hands out. We're just going to switch hands so your arms don't get tired. Now you're going to put the other hand on your forehead and you're going to tap your throat. Okay? And I just want you to say out loud, I can make choices
I can make choices
which keep me feeling safe and free.
which keep me feeling safe and free.
I can center myself
I can center myself
in my ability to make choices
in my ability to make choices
which keep me feeling safe and free.
which keep me feeling safe and free.
I can center myself
I can center myself
in my ability
in my ability
to make choices
to make choices
that keep me feeling safe and free.
that keep me feeling safe and free.
I can center myself in my ability
I can center myself in my ability
to make choices which keep me feeling safe and free.
to make choices which keep me feeling safe and free.
Good. And now just breathe into that throat. Exhale. And now how does that feel when you re-tap into the feeling your phone is dinged and you have that reaction? How does that feel?
Much better, like a 1, maybe even 0. And I think the key for me here that you hit on, I want to reemphasize, is the lack of trust in my responses towards things. So it was another component of everything I was trying to explain before, but like one of the big reasons that I find myself avoiding places, things, people, scenarios, tasks is because I have lost or the trust that I had in myself to handle things, to manage things, to complete things in the way that, I expect myself to do, has been reduced or lost. And that's a huge part. So when you hit that part for me, that was a really big element of clearing out that negative emotion and energy.
Yeah, and so I just want everybody out there that maybe has experienced this themselves to know that when you have these triggered reactions, they're so layered, and it's not like it's not your fault necessarily that you're not able to function the way that you used to function in this scenario because your reaction is now different. So when your phone used to ding, before you were, deployed and then got these kinds of phone calls all the time and messages, um, that ding didn't have the same meaning associated with it that it does now. And so, before, when you were able to handle it, it wasn't layered with all this other energy and emotion. So now that we've done this routine, what we're doing is we are releasing that triggered reaction that takes you back to that stress of getting those phone calls back in your driveway, the last time that it happened. So when you're able to release those reactions, the ding doesn't have to mean the same thing anymore. And the other thing I also want to say is that it doesn't necessarily mean that you're forgetting your buddies that passed on. So it just means that you can honor them in a different way. So every time, you hear that ding, um, it doesn't necessarily mean that, if I don't remember them at that moment, am I going to forget them? No. Your relationships with these deep relationships, I mean, you guys have a very strong, from what I understand, connection and brotherhood that I don't believe can be broken even by death. And so from what I know about it, does that feel true to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in many cases that relationship and brotherhood is even stronger um, after death.
And so what are some other ways that, I just want to talk about what are some other ways you could honor, that buddy that is now on the other side in a
Yeah.
way that's it's not related to stress. Like, what could you think when you're reminded of him?
So interestingly enough, the Marine that I brought up today, Corporal Aaron Allen, I'll just use him because that's where we started, and that was what was on my mind, when we started the conversation. He came to me when I was a platoon commander at Security Force Company down in Kings Bay, Georgia, and I can remember the first day that he stood post guarding a nuclear weapons asset. And I sat there with a platoon sergeant, and we watched him, and we watched the way he carried himself, and we just remarked about, wow, this is going to be a special Marine. Um, and then we went out on one Friday, and we had a platoon softball game, which we often did on Fridays if we weren't in the limited area providing security or otherwise having training requirements. And of course, the Marine Corps, we didn't have enough equipment. We borrowed softball equipment from the Morale, Welfare, and Recreation Center. But there were like a handful of gloves and a couple of bats. And, we found Corporal Allen in the outfield barehanded. So at some point during the game, one of the Marines just ripped this line drive. I mean, it was like a frozen rope straight out to the outfield. And here comes Allen barehanded and just snatches this ball out of the air, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like my second close observation of him. That's just telling me more about him. And when I took over the CQB platoon, he was the ammo driver, and I was always the A driver in the ammo vehicle. So on our rides, which was about a 45-minute ride to the range down in Jacksonville, Florida, he often entertained me with Vince Vaughn impersonations, or whatever movie was popular at that time. He was a real comedian, a real funny young man, and he was also very, very proficient with the weapons that we required him to be proficient with, and just a really amazing young man. And one of the ways that I think about honoring him when I think about him is to have a smile, to be outgoing, to try to make people feel good, to laugh. And while doing that, also be good at what I'm doing. Be good at the things that are important to me and important to the people that count on me. So to honor him by maintaining a great sense of humor, enjoying life to the fullest, having fun, being flawed, but also taking seriously those things that are my responsibilities, whether it's being a dad in my case, or a good friend, or a son, or a boyfriend, whatever it is, to recognize how he carried himself and to be responsible and serious and sober about the things that are important while still enjoying life. So, again, using him as the one example today, there are a number of others that left almost or just as powerful of an impression on me. But that's it for Corporal Allen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could even say, "I'm going to do this the Corporate Allen way,"
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like
That's a great.
channel him a little bit, and
Yeah.
think about him and how he would do something when you're struggling, and see if you can't use a little bit of that energy from him to get some strength and some encouragement yourself when you need it. So
Yeah. It's
I
such a
think,
great point. I think when you were saying about the brotherhood, and I mentioned that it's even stronger sometimes after someone passes,
mm,
I think we as Marines, that doesn't always translate into positive outcomes for us, for the ones that remain, because we somehow struggle with this idea of betrayal. And so I know I'm speaking to a lot of other veterans, probably all of them out there, when I say it's a challenge we have and we don't always get it right. But when we think of those Marines that were closest to us, the ones we cared about the most, the ones who made that ultimate sacrifice, it's really important for us and our progression and our well-being to find the ways to honor them. And we know deep down it's what they would want, even though we don't always choose that in our um, automated response. We know that's what they'd want. So the more of us communicate that message, remind each other of that message, and practice things like this that are practical techniques to execute that in reality, it's just really powerful and important. And I wanted to bring it back up.
I'm getting chills right now. I almost feel like
Yeah,
I feel as though that's a way to carry the best of them forward in us. And
yeah,
imagine being able to do that with all your buddies, like, really bring the best of them with you and live out their qualities, their positive qualities in your everyday existence, is a way to actually keep them alive, the best parts of them alive in your life. So I
yeah,
love that. And I think that that's
yeah,
that's a great place for us to kind of, pause today.
yeah,
And we're going to be doing more of these. And we are also going to be asking you guys out there, if you have specific things that you're struggling with and you'd like to get addressed, have some exercises to help process them. We're going to be inviting some people to do a demo like this. So if you're interested in working in this way and sharing your results with the community, we'd love to have your feedback. We'd love to have your input. We'd love to have your presence. So go ahead and write to us at the email address that's below this video, and tell us what you're struggling with, and if you'd want to come on and do one of these mini sessions to help clear your own triggers and your own fears, but also show other people in the community how this work can work and also benefit them long term. I'm also leaving you a resource as well. The tapping routine that we did, um, I have a video and a prompt that shows you how to go through that same sequence for just about any fear, anxiety, or stress. So that is also available to you below the video, so you can go ahead and practice this on your own when you are feeling stress, and use this as a tool for yourself. Okay? So, and then just think about, I think that this is just a beautiful way to end this segment. Think about, for any of those brothers that you've lost out there, what is it that you want to remember about them that could feed your own life in a positive way and bring their essence into your everyday existence, so that they're best qualities live forward in you. So thank you, Chad. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, that's great, Lara. It's such a good spot to end, and yeah, really appreciate it. And I hope folks find strength in this.
Me too. So much love and much peace to you guys out there, and hope to see you soon. Take care.
Thank you.